Welcome back to Business Plus with Lisa. You are on IPL Community Radio, and I just feel so honoured to be here today. And I'm joined by Maggie Ciobanu and Troy Vidovich. Welcome. Maggie, you live in Perth, Western Australia. You have 3 children. You were born in Romania.
Yes.
And you are a mortgage broker.
Yes.
And Troy, you are a father of 4 children. You have a grandson, as do I. And you are now, correct me if I'm wrong, a holistic life coach.
Yes, 100%. Enjoying every minute of it.
Fantastic. And I'm so happy that you're both going to be able to share your stories today. Maggie, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? What does your day look like when you wake up in the morning with having 3 children? Because I think they're at an age where you need to still get them to school, yes?
Yes, they are still at school age. We basically get up every day and we just go on a day-by-day basis, see how they're feeling, try and, just make sure that their safety is our foremost concern, and just, pretty much just try and manage every single day because we're learning at the same time as we're going along, so we try not to prepare too much.
That's a really interesting point, actually, isn't it? It took quite a long time for me to have children, and I had it all worked out. And every time I saw somebody at a shopping centre and a child was misbehaving, if you asked me, I could tell you exactly what was the matter with that parent.
Yep.
And I thought you got this lump of clay and then you got to mould them exactly how you wanted. Boy, was I wrong.
Absolutely. We thought the same thing before we had kids, and it's like nothing will prepare you for parenthood until you're actually dealing with that moment.
Yeah, and they're all so different, aren't they? And nobody prepares you for that either.
Yep.
And the other really interesting thing that I find is that some people have the attitude, well, you were brought up in the same family, but you're actually not, because every time a new child comes into a family, the dynamics have totally changed.
Yes.
So, it's just, I've got goosebumps thinking about it. It's just crazy. And I'm really happy that you're going to be sharing your story whilst you're here today about how you're actually going to be helping some of the issues that we have in today's world that our parents didn't have to face with us. So we'll come back to that. Troy, tell us a little bit more about yourself. You were brought up in Freo, born in Freo.
Freo boy, yes, in South Fremantle. So really enjoyed my journey there with my dad was a market gardener in Wadlup, Yugoslav, born over there, and just a hard worker. And just mum and dad split up when I was younger, so then just been around with mum, floating around Perth, and then pretty much the age of 13 I was in business with my mum, pretty much at a coffee shop.
Wow.
So I've been in business for a long time in life and learnt a lot, but just the big thing with me is I just love sport. My dream as a young lad was to be a professional athlete. I just loved Michael Jordan, so hence why I just love coaching sport, coaching full stop, and just being involved in helping people through their challenges, even young lads. We've all got dreams, and young kids, and really inspire to help these young people just live your dream.
Fantastic. We're on Community Radio, IPL, Inspiring Passionate Lives, and the only way that we change the way things are is when we recognise that something is not okay. And you've both made enormous changes in your life and changed the trajectories of your lives because you really felt in your hearts that something wasn't okay. Maggie, what is not okay for you?
Bullying in general amongst children, but what really is a huge 24/7 problem is cyberbullying in particular, where they just do not have any filter. They are hiding behind the keyboard. They are saying and doing things that they should not be doing and seeing explicit pornography on their phones. We're hoping that with this new app that's being developed that this will stop.
Okay, fantastic. And we're going to dive more into that very soon. Troy, what are we going to be talking about mostly with you today? What is not okay?
It's interesting. We had a chat out the back there about this, and the addictions that we do have comes from some bad experiences or traumas that we hold on to, and we were talking about that. That's what people go into those habits just to cover their pain. So I'm all about treating the cause, not just the symptoms, and diving deep to there's always something that addiction is a part of. Hence myself was alcohol, and that wasn't okay for me with your health, the anger, and I, which we'll talk more into it, but I dove deep into that, and it's just amazing when you do really realise the pain that a lot of people are and the addictions that we do have relates from something.
It's really interesting that you should say that. Somebody very, very close to me went through an addiction battle, and the counsellor that he was working with said to me that actually getting them off whatever they're on is the easier part. She said it's the trauma underneath.
Spot
and
on.
it's like an onion, and it's actually that is the more difficult part. But you sound like you've had lived experience. So
yeah, that's the journey that I share with a lot of my clients now. Is and I'm still, those onion layers are still coming, and it will probably for the rest of my life. And
I think it's called humanity.
Yeah, but the thing is having the tools to really feel it, and we're only human.
Yeah,
and that's the beautiful
absolutely.
thing. People have got to realise that we got emotions and we got hearts and this, and we do feel a lot of stuff, and you're only human, and this is what life's about.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I've really recognised that gratitude is really, really important around mental health, and I think if I could say that there was one key to being able to have a better day, a better hour, a better minute is going back into that sense of gratitude. I would love for you both to share just before we go to our next song. Maggie, what are you most grateful for today?
I'm grateful for having the opportunity to be here, because it really does make an impact meeting someone such as yourself, Lisa. Having this opportunity to spread the word is so important, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for yourself.
Oh, thank you, Maggie.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I love the ripple effect, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Kyle, and Kyle wouldn't be here if it weren't for another person. And so it really is paying it forward, isn't it?
Yes.
It's just so, so important. Thank you. Troy,
Yeah,
what
just
are you grateful for?
being present in the moment, and I think it's a real challenging situation for a lot of people, is that we all think about what ifs and where we're at, and my journey of just really unlocked that being present in the moment, where we are right now, and also what we have is, beautiful kids, grandkids, and my beautiful wife, and just good people around you. I think that's the most important. But yeah, just being present with where we are.
And do you know what? I think that that's one of the things that I struggle with the most is living in the moment, because for me, I'm an organizer, I'm a scheduler, I'm always thinking ahead, I've always got a huge to-do list. I don't know if anybody else listening has that same struggle, but when I come back into the moment, it's an amazing feeling, and hopefully I'll learn the skill fully by the time that I leave this earth. I've got a few years left to go. So with that, let's play. Oh, what should we play? Should we play Heart of Gold by Johnny Cash or Father and Son by Cat Stevens, now known by Yusuf?
Let's go, Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, Heart of Gold. Here we go. You got it. Roy Orbison, and you're back with Business Plus with Lisa. Good morning if you're in Perth, WA, or good evening if you're in another part of the world. I have Maggie Ciobanu and Troy Vidovich here today, and Troy's business is all about unlocking your true freedom, because your true freedom comes from within. As a holistic personal coach, he loves to work through the mind, body, and the soul. And what he shared with me is that what he loves most to do is to help people unlock their true freedom by letting go of their past trapped emotions. Now, earlier on in the show, he chose. Well, there's a very, very interesting words. He shared with us that he has a past of addiction, and he wants to, and what he shared with me is that that's not okay, and he's now wanting to help other people. So over to you, Troy.
Thanks. It's really, you asked the question to Maggie about what you like to do in life, and I have this. I love my golf, so just the other day I played golf, and they asked, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm retired." And they're going, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, I'm 45. I'm retired." And they're going, "Geez, you're doing all right." I said, "Well, no, I'm doing something I absolutely love. I love waking up to what I do every day." And before this journey, I wasn't like that, and that's through to obviously the bad experiences and traumas I had with inside myself, and we all cover it up and do those side of things. And I was, with my food, eating very, very well. I've been doing that for the last 15 years, and that's a big part of us as humans. And I thought everything's all great, and I'm having a few drinks, and I love my footy, coaching, and all that. And obviously with that scene, we have the alcohol, and that's just the sporting scene, and then obviously everything, when you actually dive deep with it all, it's amazing when it really, with your soul, what we do hold on to, and a lot of it's come up even from when I was younger. From 0 to 7 is the key point of our programming, and over the last say 5 years, I've done a lot of work, and it's amazing what can come out from it, and what you actually learn about yourself, but also about what life's all about. We're here to enjoy what we absolutely love, and I think that's the challenging bit. It's interesting talking to Maggie about this journey. Is these young kids get squashed with their dreams, and we're here to live our dream, and that's
Absolutely.
what I love.
So when did you recognise that you had a problem with alcohol?
It was pretty much my anger and how I was handling myself as a person, but also as a father, as a business owner. I had a turf farm for 18 years with my family, my brother. And it was beautiful. It was a great journey, that one. But my business was going backwards at a rapid rate. And it's funny, you are an extension of your business, and you got to take ownership and responsibilities of your own actions at the end of the day. So I made the decision something has to change, and I connected with a business guy named Kern Ray. He's more the business, but also the psychology, and it was a real wow factor. And it was a 12-month program, and I kept saying, I want to coach. And these people just looking at me, well, go and do it. And I said, I didn't know how to. Okay, and then you dive deeper into yourself, and you go, it's like an aha moment. And then you realise, I went on to a mindset spiritual coach, which I have still, beautiful man. And he said, what are you covering up? And I don't know, we'll go deeper with it all, I suppose, in due course. But the alcohol is covering up something. And I said, no, it's not. And so we all of a sudden, I'm now not drinking. I choose to drink when I feel it's right, and I'll tell you what, my body and my mind is all clear now to go on my journey. You're aware of where you want to go, what you want to do, people you meet.
And that must have been an enormous stress on your marriage as well.
No, my marriage has just changed completely, and it's interesting you say that though, because when I started this journey, my wife said to me, "You're not the same person who I married," and I said, "Well, you didn't even know me before we got married. Now I'm the true me." Which is the softening, loving, kind person. And she just looked at me and she goes, yeah, you're right. I didn't even know myself, until I've done this work, and a lot of people don't. And that's the real interesting power to really find and unlock your true self, and you really surprise yourself.
Wow, that's amazing. And you mentioned earlier that you were very close to your mum. You still close with your mum?
No, this is the interesting journey with all this. My dad was in on the property when we bought 100 acres. I did make the decision only 6 months ago. I'm happy to share this. It was a really tough decision as a business owner male, declaring bankruptcy, and all the ego, the judgment, and the all those things came up. Another journey for myself, but life is all about learning. And I didn't have much conversation with my dad. He's Yugoslav upbringing, hard worker, like I said. Now I've got a beautiful relationship with him, helping him through his journey with his partner who's got dementia, and helping him understand, it's not his fault. And but funny enough, I haven't got a close relationship with my mum as what I had to, but I'm in a different space now. And there's a lot of stuff coming up from her past and my grandma as well, which is very, very interesting.
And one of the interesting things that I've learned fairly recently is that we have these, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but it's basically genetic lines that come through. So we can have a lot of who we are formed even utero, from what I can understand. I've not studied the subject, but it absolutely fascinates me. And I think it comes back to a little bit like I was saying earlier on. Like I used to think that you had this child and it was a lump of clay and you actually moulded it, but far from it, because in so many cases we bring so much with us when we come onto this earth, don't we?
100%. We're energy, vibration, frequency, right? So, and you get through all your generations, all their pain. And it's until somebody I'd love to share this in due course with our chat today because I
Oh,
will.
please share now because we're already halfway into the show.
Oh, right, okay. Well, just to give you a classic example, and look, if anyone's feeling this, what I share, my whole journey started basically with this journey with my eldest daughter. She was suicidal, and over due time, I found her. She was sexually abused from my best mate at the time.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
It was a huge kick to the guts, if you like to look at it. But I swept it underneath the carpet and just drank. That's where the alcohol came into.
Wow. Giving me goosebumps.
So that was a really challenging time for me. In 2019, this is where my journey started. And I was just saying to Maggie that a big eye-opener to me was my spiritual coach, mental mindset coach said, you've got to help yourself if you want to help your daughter. And it was just like, wow.
That's confronting.
Wow. Yeah.
Just before you go on, just to let anyone listening, please monitor your mental health while listening to this interview with Troy. If you're triggered, please reach out to your GP or call Lifeline on 131114.
And also, if anyone is out there, any parents, look, I'm happy to reach out with me. I'm sure you'll say that at the end, Lisa, with the number. I'm happy to share and help you through. So, yeah, that all came up. And what you're just talking about, the past there was my grandma passed away, and she said to me in a letter my auntie wrote, can you make sure Troy gets looked after? And I just didn't think anything of it. But now I've got her letter that she wrote, and she was sexually abused when she was younger. And she never knew how to, and she even said that. She didn't talk to anyone, she hid it. So what you're just talking about is that we get passed on these generational, because we're all energy, and it's not, I'm not about blaming anyone or doing anything, but I'm the chosen father and my daughter's the chosen one to really help heal my grandma, heal my great-grandma, and all the past traumas that they have, and that's who we are. And it's been a really eye-opener, and I tell you what, it's changed my life, it's changed my kids' life, and now I can actually put all these beautiful tools that I have to people that are going through it. And like I said before, we're all human. We all got emotions that are in there, and it's just that onion layer, but also feeling safe and feeling loved. And that is probably the number one thing I've learned out of this, is a lot of people in this whole world do not feel loved, do not understand real love or unconditional love. And gee, I found that through my own journey, and my beautiful daughter and now grandson. And my grandson's now teaching me, and that's what I was saying to you. They're all here to teach us. And it's beautiful.
It's really about humility and owning it, isn't it?
Taking ownership and responsibility, and we're all here to help each other. At the end of the day, we're all one, and we all got our own journeys, but we're all here to help each other and take responsibility and ownership. I'm not blaming the friend at the time for doing what he did. It's actually something that I had to learn, my daughter had to learn, but then that's come from my grandma. And at the end of the day, who's prepared to take the ownership of it and responsibility? Not about blaming anybody. Not about blaming anyone.
I worked in the aged care sector for some time, and that was actually working with people with dementia. And that was a very good lesson for me with a lot of many different things. But one of the things that really came home to me was that every day I walked in there, if I could make every single person feel like they mattered, that was all they needed. Yeah. And it took so little to do that. It really, truly did. It might have been just remembering that somebody took one sugar in their tea, although you're not supposed to have any physical touch in those places. If they were playing bingo, just go and put my hand on somebody's shoulder, and just so that they felt like they mattered. Yep. And that could have been the highlight of their day for all we know, and that could have kept them going for days. And I think often we forget how little it takes to make somebody feel important and like they matter.
And that's the thing that we're talking about, young people. Like, it's about loving yourself. All right? Imagine this whole world if we all loved ourselves without worrying about someone else saying, great job, great job. Give yourself praise. Yeah. Our language towards ourselves is the most powerful we'll ever have. It's yours. So you're talking to yourself about yourself. Is it a negative thought or is it a positive thought? If you actually truly love yourself, and everyone on this planet would truly love themselves, it's not about external things anymore. It's been gratitude, having been grateful for what you have, who you are, beautiful kids, happy kids, and that's where life is. And that's all about real love, unconditional love. It's powerful, very powerful.
Because thoughts become things, don't they?
One thing that really sticks in my mind, your stories become your beliefs. And it's a classic thing with fear. We're only born with two fears. And the two fears are fear of falling and loud noise. So all these other fears, and that's a science behind that. All these other fears, where have they come from? And that's a really question I ask a lot of my clients, and even keep asking, where's that fear come from? Stories turn into beliefs if they keep replaying themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Troy.
Right.
We are going to go to, I don't know whether it's a very apt song to play at this time, but it is one I absolutely love. Robbie Williams and Nicole Kidman, Something Stupid. The man in the mirror, Michael Jackson. Do you like a bit of Michael, Troy?
Love the MJ. Got the old moves going. Don't worry about that.
You'll have to do some Michael Jackson moves for us later.
We might do that, yes.
I'm joined today by Maggie Ciobanu and Troy Vidovich, and Troy is going to be sharing some more of himself. If you've only just joined us, you can catch the rest of the story later on when it's loaded onto the IPL YouTube channel. Very, very powerful what he has been sharing. One of the things that has really impacted not only us here in Perth, Western Australia or Australia, it's actually affected the whole world, is COVID. I would love for you to share how that has impacted you mentally, physically, socially, emotionally. Tell us what your life looked like pre-COVID from a business perspective, maybe to start with.
Yeah, it's interesting that, with COVID, like I said, I had a turf farm with my brother for 18 years, and things weren't going well before COVID at that point, but it's just amazing how things play out in life and what the journey is of life. And then COVID did come along, and turf sales went down. Obviously, everyone had to shut down, and also houses weren't getting built, and we were only just doing the turf farm. There was no other avenues to go, which we looked at, but nothing was happening. And we had a big debt, and I'm happy to share that. We had $1 million debt at the time, and at the end of the day, nothing was flowing. And then it's just got to the point, well, something has to give. And that was this journey where I started all this. I had to make a decision. My dad wasn't confident enough, my brother wasn't, and I said, well, we're going to have to close the business, otherwise we're going to look at something different. And they just weren't involved in that, and I just said, well, I'm out. I'm not healthy enough. I don't feel healthy enough, and something has to give. I'm not going to handle this anymore because of what's been going on and what I've come up with. And that was the decision. And my brother I haven't spoken to before, and my dad blamed me for everything, and it was one of the most powerful things I've had to work through within myself. But again, it's taking ownership and responsibility. And then the COVID thing is just like, why? But it really actually made me look within myself that it's time to change. But it's really, and it has happened to a lot of people in a nice way, but also obviously in a challenging way too. But it's been a big awakening for me, and that's the way I actually look at it. If COVID wasn't here, I actually probably would just keep going along. She'll be right. And that's just me, how I take it. I know everyone's in different situations, and that's cool. But then all of a sudden, I mean, look where I am now after 2 years. I wouldn't even
Recognize yourself?
No.
Yeah.
No chance. So, but again, I've done the work, and I really admire people that do the work, but I'm not blaming anyone or anyone for anything. I've done the work. That's my choice. And I've spent a lot of money on personal growth, close to $100,000 I've spent on personal growth work myself. Wow. And at the end of the day, it's just money, but I'm here. I'm alive. I'm well, healthy. I've actually saved my daughter's life. I've saved 6 lives through drug overdoses and through their traumas. And it's like, well, it's worth every minute of it. And so from from COVID to where I am now, beautiful.
So is that what we would call a COVID blessing?
Yeah, and I honestly think it's a big awakening for a lot of people, and I know it's been a big awakening for me as a person, but also for my beautiful family, and my kids. My kids love their sport, and my actual youngest boy is 18 now, and he's had a real negative attitude before all this as well, and that's coming from a parent. We're saying and now he's a pro golfer. He's now over in the UK.
Wow, how wonderful!
Living his dream. And my older boy is 20, and his AFL dream is still on the board there. So it's just so possibilities there, but it all comes from us, again, doing the work. And
Speaking of golf, I don't know whether you've been to the cinema recently, but they were advertising like a funny movie around golfing. Did you happen to see it?
no,
It
it's
was
not.
an English guy. I can't remember what it was called now, but
It's not like Happy Gilmore, is it? Is another Happy
it
Gilmore
was kind
out,
of
is
a
it?
bit like that.
This could be
Oh,
interesting,
I love
couldn't it?
that movie.
Well, I'll be into that.
It was a bit like that. I wish I could remember the name of it. I'll Google it on a break.
Okay.
So you've really stood up for yourself. And you've really taken control and, been very, very empowered. Do you remember the first time that you did stand up for yourself?
It's funny you asked that question because one of the biggest things is I wanted to be in, like I said, NBA or NBL basketball. I got told I was too small. And then I go, well, I'll play footy. I love my footy. I had a beautiful teacher at primary school. And he goes, you're going to be a superstar football player. And I'm just going, yeah, okay, no worries. I'm only a little fella, and he used to play a good level of football. So he was like a mentor to me. And anyway, and I was always just a skinny lad, and I just loved it. And Mum just said to me, no, you're not playing. You're too small. And I got told you're too small. And my dad was always busy working, and really upset me in that way. So this other guy was like a father to me. And then I played state basketball, met another beautiful mentor like a father again, and built that discipline, structure and commitment into it. And then when it was 18, and because Mum wouldn't let me play footy because I was worried about getting injured, I thought, nah, I'm going to go and play football. And that was the first day I stood up to my mum and said, I'm going to go play football. No, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I'm going. And it was really empowering for me that, hey, I'm going to go do something that I really want to, not worried about injury.
Did you have sweaty palms? Were you really nervous?
I just set her and ran.
Sounds like you were really nervous.
It was.
Because it's a big deal standing up for yourself, isn't it? And, I don't mean to say this lightly, and I do have a very, very pragmatic way of looking at things, but I've often thought if there were no victims, there would be no bullies.
Yep.
And I know that is really, really simplistic.
Yep.
But yeah.
And that's all it boils down to.
Yeah.
And it boils back to within you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As a person, and how you are feeling about yourself and what you believe in. Again, like I was saying to you, we have our dreams as a young kid. We get squashed until it just seems to click if that's the case.
And it's other people's limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and look, our parents, we're all parents here, and if we say no and don't do this and don't do that, they just go, oh, okay, no good, all right. That's why with my kids, go and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you just go get a part-time job and go and live your dream. If that's where you're meant to be, that's where you're meant to be, and it's a dream, right?
Yeah.
What we're here to do. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, once again, I shared earlier that I'd worked in aged care, and when you've had experience with looking at people in palliative care, it gives you a whole new perspective on our time on earth. It's really, really very, very short. So you don't get do-overs. Well,
No.
I don't think you do anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Really interesting. Maggie, you're pre-COVID. What are your COVID blessings? How were you affected mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of those layers?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I actually worked at the bank full-time as an employee, and then I thought, okay, the grass is greener on the other side, possibly going from self-employed to working as an employee. The pressures of trying to just be a perfectionist all the time for whatever I was doing pre-COVID just seemed to be, I didn't realise what I was doing to myself mentally. When COVID hit, we were working from home, everything just changed, the kids were at home full time, and the pressure just got really, really high at the time. So what I did to make a difference to myself and my life is I actually resigned from the bank and went back to being self-employed mortgage broker, doing, I guess, what I've always known I was good at. It was just that I just wanted to see whether it was best at the bank, having that 8-hour clock in, clock out kind of situation, and realised this is where I want to be. I want to be in control of my life and know what direction I want to take it and how far I want to go and can go. So that was my blessing, that if COVID hadn't put that pressure on me at that last moment, I wouldn't be here right now, probably still working at the bank.
So that gave you that opportunity, which is fantastic.
Yes.
And you also shared earlier about how you felt when you felt discriminated against during the time where and I was in the same boat as you, as far as vaccination passports were concerned. So how did that affect you, and how did you get through that on a physical and emotional level, because there's going to be people listening that have gone through the same thing and, you know, perhaps haven't bounced back as well as what we have, and could do with some words of encouragement.
I would say around the time of the mandates, I actually didn't realise how it impacted me so much until it actually happened. So, you know, I'm very time poor, being a business owner and mother of 3 kids. So when I get some time to myself, I don't mind going to a coffee shop or a restaurant, and I'm fine being on my own, just having my meal and just like reflecting on whatever I need to do. In this instance, I went to 2 of my favourite places that I like to eat at, and even though I was sitting outside or willing to sit outside by myself, I was told, no, you can't sit here. I got to say that rejection just made me feel like there was something wrong with me, even though there wasn't. And so I just cried. I think I cried all day. It took me a good 5 to 6 hours just to snap out of it, because my mindset was just on the fact that I was rejected for no reason. And the good thing that came out of it is I was able to network with people like yourself, Lisa. Had I've not experienced that, I probably wouldn't have been in search of trying to find like-minded people at that time, you know, probably just going by my day-to-day. So it actually came out as a blessing in disguise, but at the time I just didn't realise it. I just felt a little bit...
Has it helped you to know yourself better, Maggie?
Oh, absolutely. The change in what I was previously, you know, confidence and the fact of sharing my stories or whatever I'm going through, I can honestly say I couldn't have done that pre-COVID, around COVID time. So just meeting this networking group and, you know, knowing that I'm not alone in all this has been able to branch out into different areas.
So it's made you more courageous?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And you really enjoyed the Find Your Voice program, the workshop that we did recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that's fundamental. I mean, at the moment, like, I feel, you know, any kind of obstacle that I previously would just say no to, I just say yes. Even if I feel that, I don't know if I can do that. You know what, I'm going to give it a go, whatever comes of it. But that would not have been me if you'd asked me a few months ago. So the Find Your Voice, the networking, the Awake group, knowing that I'm not alone, like actually feeling like I've got more friends now after COVID than I did beforehand. So it actually is really good.
Fantastic. I love the saying Sir Richard Branson says, say yes and then work out how you're going to do it after.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I remember from that. I think it was Screw It, Just Do It book.
Yeah.
I read it a long time ago and I thought, I like that philosophy.
It's an interesting thought you're saying there, but it's like taking a direction, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what direction you take. The biggest thing is accepting it. Okay, I'm going to take this direction or that direction. You see the positives and negatives and whatever. Right, I'm going to go that way. It might not be what you think it is, but it's the right way at that time, what you thought, and that's where you're meant to be on. And accept the challenges that do come through that journey. And that's pretty much Richard Branson. I'm just going that way. Okay, whatever comes my way, that's what I'm meant to learn to go to where I've got to go to. But a lot of people go, I shouldn't have gone that way. Well, no, you've chosen to go that way, so that's the way you're meant to go. And they're the challenges that you're meant to face to get to where you want to get to. And that is the power.
It's very philosophic, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's exactly what Richard Branson's saying. Well, I'm just going that way, and whatever comes along my way, that's what I'm meant to learn.
That's what I meant to learn, yeah.
And the hardest thing to do is accepting it, because we always think it's a good or bad. There's no good or bad. It's just what is.
I love that.
Yeah. And there's an interesting saying here from Peter Crone I absolutely love, that if I go through some of my own challenging times, is what's happened has happened and couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. So if you really listen to that and really sit with that, what's happened has happened and couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. And it's about accepting it.
Yeah.
And learning from that.
That's similar to, is it the Lord's Prayer that says the Serenity Prayer? I can't remember how it goes now.
Yep.
But it's really about acceptance once again.
That's all it is. And again, there's no good or bad.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what it is.
Yeah. And then stepping into your power and owning that.
100%.
I often feel in my own life that, and I know we talk about choices, and I find that very interesting as well, because often I feel like it's more a calling than a choice. Do you feel the same, Troy?
100%. There's
Yeah.
no, to me now in life, with the journey that I've been through, with this gentleman, his name's Nero Day-Allen too, by the way. He's a beautiful man. And there's no wrong or right. And at the end of the day, the choice is what is.
Yeah, yeah. If you believe that it is a choice.
It's a lot of work to get to that space.
Yeah,
And
because-
I just like to say too, hey, I have my bad days and good days and all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't let that spiral now. I've got the tools, and that's why I love to help with my clients, is that we all have challenging times, and I will for the rest of my life. Just because I've done the work doesn't mean I've done. I'm always doing the work to grow, which is what Maggie and I were saying, and I'm sure you're the same, Lisa, and we keep growing, and they're the challenges that we face, but it's how we accept that and work through them and learn from them and then keep going through it.
Do you know one of the things that I like to share now, but I'll only share it with people that I feel really understand me on a soul level. If I'm having a crap day and somebody asks, I won't pretend I'm okay. So my normal response is I'm having a really, really crap time. But I know that I need to have the lows to be able to feel the highs. And the other thing I've recognised, and I don't know, you've done $100,000 worth of study, I haven't, so maybe you can answer this question. But what I've learned is I look at it like an ocean and waves, and what I found now is that when I go low, when I come back up, I find that I feel higher than what I was before. Is that a thing, or is that my imagination?
Yep, that's a thing, but the key is, it's if you picture a pendulum, all right, which is an energy emotion. If you picture when you're up positive, we're all high and all great. And that's a bit like the drugs. We got our own drugs inside of us, which is when we're happy, we're all yay. The key is in life is not to have that pendulum where it swings all the way up and you ping in and go, yeah, great. And then all of a sudden you come down, which is what drugs do to you. If you have, obviously, guys that would probably addictions that can see this because you come down and crash.
Well, guys and girls.
Guys and girls, yep. And then the negative, you go in that little hole, like you're saying. The key is to feel that pendulum, just go bit by bit, feel it, and then come back to neutral.
Yep.
Go bit by bit, feel it, come back to neutral. And that is the key to the joy, happiness of life. Because, and I just picked up on your language there, at the end of the day, it's a challenge. It's a beautiful thing. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. Remember, it's just about how we are perceiving and how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful key. And if you're feeling that energy go up, just catch it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I say is be aware of it, is catching it. Once you catch it, you're in control of where it all is flowing to.
It's really knowing yourself, isn't it?
That's all it boils down to.
My oholic, because I believe most people are an oholic of something.
Yep.
So my oholic
Beautiful.
is I tend to be a workaholic.
Yeah.
So, and I get that buzz from, and I can feel it. I can feel the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, and if I finish my list, it's like, oh my goodness, I've got to put something else on my list.
Yeah. Yeah.
because it gives me a buzz.
Yep.
But what happens is, and I'm getting better at it, as I do the whole burnout thing. So I'll run and run and run and run and run, but then I'll burn out. So on Friday afternoon, I watched Netflix from 3 p.m. till 9 p.m. And anyone that knows me, that's basically unheard of.
Yeah.
6 hours of Netflix because I'd done the whole run too fast.
Yeah. And see, that's the interesting with that pendulum with
Yeah.
you. If you can handle that beautiful neutral position as much as you can and accept that and also be in that, bring it back to neutral. You don't have to worry
I
having
don't
those
reckon I'll get as much done in that one.
You'll be surprised. You do. You
Will
do.
I?
Yeah, because you're not so cloudy and not fixated on doing those things.
Yeah.
You are just in that beautiful place of whatever's meant to get. See, that's the whole thing. Whatever's meant to be will be.
Yeah.
Whatever gets done is done.
Yep.
That's cool, and I'll accept that.
Yep.
Not just be. For me to be good, I've got to get all these things done. Well, who says you have to?
Yeah.
And that's again about you.
But that's one of the things of being a perfectionist as well, is that you put
Learning.
the most pressure on yourself as well.
Again, see, that's that.
However, I own that because I don't think
Cool.
that the greatest people in history did what they did through being average either, did they? They
No.
were the minority.
But that's being in align with your values and being in line with where you are looking to go. The values are a huge key of you being in line with where you're heading.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Absolutely. Wow, this is a lot of heavy stuff for a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You're listening to IPL Radio, inspiring passionate lives. And we're very, very lucky to have the founder of IPL in the studio with us today. And he's going to come on in a little while, and he's going to be sharing about a course, a very empowering course that he's running from here. And there's a few places left for anybody that's interested. Stay tuned, and we're going to have a bit of Sweet Caroline with Neil Diamond.